Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. My name is Christina. This is a reading for twin flame divine feminines, or if you're not a twin flame and you're just sort of looking to balance the feminine energies within yourself as an individual, then this reading is for you. The focus for your reading today are 3 questions. What's your current energy? How can you shift your focus? And where's an area of growth? So if you've been following my channel, I sort of made the plan to only do twin flame readings on Friday once a week. I do feel that plan is shifting a little bit, especially because I am doing a reading today for twin flames. I'm not sure if I'll get to the divine masculine one today, but I may do that tomorrow. We'll see how it goes or how I feel, how my energy levels are. But yeah, I wanted to do this reading today. I just felt pulled to it for whatever reason. So let's get started. We're starting here with the bottom of the deck energy for the Muse Tarot. We have the Muse of Voices and the Tower was underneath that. So what this is telling me is I feel like you, Divine Feminine, DF, I feel like you're in this energy of the Tower, not a negative thing at all. I feel like what it is that you're breaking through some sort of barrier or boundary or whatever it is. If you watch my channel, I already posted the Virgo reading, so you can go check that out. That did distinctly feel very much like a twin flame reading, but I put it for Virgo because that was the intention. But I do feel that because I'm doing these on the same day, that they are probably related. That felt more as more like what both twins may be going through, but this specifically for you, DF, is like you're breaking through some sort of boundary or barrier into sort of this new space. And because it's coming through with the Muse of Voices, it's talking about some sort of perhaps mental mindset sort of challenge or perspective or something like that. So it could be you're getting a new perspective, especially because it's coming out with these 2 cards, the Balance and the Illumination. So this Balance card I always see as being a final piece sort of being clicked into place, that kind of thing, which leads to illumination, right? I feel like it's you're shifting focus or shifting gears or shifting some aspect, making a new choice that's giving you more clarity or illumination about a certain topic or situation or whatever it is. And then you have here the Connection card. So of course I want to tie this to twin flames because I've been thinking, because I've started this journey, I've just been thinking a lot about the connection and the sort of, well, it's talking about the threads or the how we are connected to our twin flames. What's common between you and your counterpart and what's not. Sort of the similarities and the differences, that kind of thing. So perhaps you're getting some more insights about your connection personally, about sort of the ties between the 2 of you, what's common, or even just as I was preparing to do this reading, I was being drawn into sort of the path and the journey that I took to sort of meeting my twin flame, how that unfolded, the choices that I made that perhaps didn't seem clear to me in that moment of why I was making that choice, but later revealed sort of how that choice was informed by my connection to my counterpart before I'd even met him. It was those kind of choices that determined or prepared me for actually encountering the physical person that I know to be my counterpart, that kind of thing. So you may be experiencing something similar where you're getting sort of the final piece or some sort of clarity around the connection that's giving you more insight, for instance. And it could feel like a breakthrough moment, right? With this Tower, it could feel like a breakthrough. That kind of thing. Okay, so starting with your current energy. So we have here Success, Cleanse, and Peace, which I love so much. I love this Success card. It's just so positive, right? It's I feel like you're making a lot of choices or doing a lot of things that are bringing you success or that will bring you success in the future. whether or not you know that at the moment or not. It's like you're just kind of doing things that feel good to you, which ultimately will lead to success, whether or not you can see that now in the moment. With this peace card too, I love so much. These gray cards don't show up very well on camera, but it just talks to me about like not having any sort of worry, right? It's like you're just peaceful. You just know that sort of anything that comes up, perhaps that you can deal with it, that it'll be fine, that everything's going to end up successful. Perhaps because you have sort of this illumination or clarity that when you look back at any sort of challenge that you encountered in the past, there was always sort of a positive spin or like something that you've gained in that experience, even if it was difficult to sort of be in that moment, if that makes sense. With this cleanse card, it's interesting because I do feel that you are stepping into some sort of new element or new aspect, especially if you're making like new choices. It's like there's this cleanse aspect where you're having to leave behind or clear out older energies that don't match the new choice or the new direction that you're going into. And I will come back to this cleanse card because it is very important for the shifting of your focus. But here with the tarot, you have this Six of Voices card, which has been coming up so much. It came out in the last Twin Flame reading, I think, as well. I can't remember which one. But it came out as being sort of like passing over any sort of obstacles. And then the next two cards to come out were the Seven of Emotions and the Star, which I was seeing as sort of like a blown up version of the Six of Voices, right? It's like if you encounter an obstacle, or because the Seven of Emotions sometimes brings in the idea of like confusion or not sure what to do, right? It's like there's a lot of options, but it's like unclear about what it is that you should choose, that kind of thing. So that could be an obstacle of like the uncertainty perhaps, but it's like because you have this energy of that, like everything's gonna work out, it's gonna be successful. It's like that obstacle or challenge is immediately like you immediately get the solution to it, if that makes sense, right? It's like you're in this energy of just like having a problem in front of you, but then the solution immediately presents itself, kind of thing. Like you have the solution in your hand. With the Star energy as well. With this, because this came out with the Weightlessness card. So this is interesting because it kind of brings in this energy of feeling ungrounded. But for you today, it's actually, I feel like that's almost like a positive energy to be in, because that's allowing you to sort of get, but it's like feeling weightless in here too, right? Like it's almost like you're not touching the ground, or you're not feeling ungrounded, but in the best way possible, where if you're too immersed in a problem, the solution's not going to come to you, right? And so because you're too in it, you can't see the solution when you're sort of immersed in the problem. But because you're sort of like in this weightlessness state where even if there is a problem, you're in a state where you're not perceiving it as a problem. There's a detachment perhaps from the issue or the whatever the thing is, that the solution comes to you immediately because of that, if that makes sense. With this too, with the Nine of Voices, I see this as like you're pulling in the solution of like in sort of your sleep state, or in sort of a state where there's no resistance, whether or not it's through your sleep state or through meditation. It's like in a state of no resistance where the solution comes to you immediately is what this talks about. With the Ace of Voices as well. Because it's like I'm not sure if you are aware of this, that you're doing this, where it's like you're at this sort of finish line point with your focus sort of ahead. But it's like immediately moving from problem to solution, right? Immediately moving from resistance to non-resistance. And it's kind of like you may be looking back. This card has been such a theme in the last couple of readings, but almost like looking back because you went over that problem so quickly, or you surpassed that obstacle so quickly that it's almost like it passed you by, and all of a sudden you're on the other side, and you don't realize that that you actually accomplish something quite big or move past something quite significant without even like noticing it, is kind of how that's coming through today. And then you have here these two cards, the squaring of the circle and the rose phoenix, which I love so much. They're very sort of like energetic phenomena sort of cards where the physical, there isn't like a physical or an example of what this will look like for each person. It's going to be different for everyone. The rose phoenix brings in the energy of like a rose being in full bloom, the phoenix rising from the ashes, and it also talks about, as 11:11, as I said that, having done all of your healing work, where you're just at this point of completion, right? It's like completion, fullness, wholeness, all of that energy in here. And the squaring of the circle talks about creating structure or putting physicality onto something that is non-physical. And so I feel there's all this like it's a really beautiful energy that you're in, which is why I feel like I felt compelled to do this reading for you. But anyways, because the next part, like what it is that you, or how can you shift your focus, is that I feel like you might not be aware of that you are in a really beautiful, positive space to be in, because you have this surrender card, which to me talks about expansion, and I'll go into what that is in a second. But then you also have here the pain and the hunger. This hunger card has come out in 3 readings in a row now, so I feel like the last, like, starting from Leo might be an interesting place to start for you to watch if you're interested in learning more about what this hunger card represents. And love card, right? So how I see this surrender card is like whenever you're going into something new, a new environment or whatever it is, a new energy, it's like you're moving from a smaller circle into a bigger circle, right? So for this card, sorry, it's not focusing here. It's like a Venn diagram where when you are in this smaller circle and the new thing is about to come in, there is this period of overlap where both the old and the new sort of coexist in that space, right? So you have to sort of be in this murky space where there's a lot of like old energy and a lot of new energy sort of intermixing, and in the moving forward, eventually you're going to get to the point where you step past this threshold into the new energy. But it feels like for you, DF, that you're right in the middle here where the old energy of this pain and hunger, right? Like not having enough resources or whatever it is for you, is the old energy that's still present in your environment right now, but you're moving into love, which is all of this sort of fulfillment energy. So all of these energies, even though they're sort of conflicting, are coexisting within your environment right now, or in your energy right now. And it's like you're moving into the new. You absolutely are with this this combination of cards, because you have here the boat and the ecstasy card. The ecstasy card came out in the Virgo reading, so definitely check that out if that applies to you. Whether or not you're a Virgo or not, or you have Virgo in your chart, I feel that felt like a twin flame reading to me. So I feel like that it may have some insights, because this boat energy talks about like if you're experiencing sort of confusion or an emotional period where there's just like it's just feeling like a lot of emotions. The boat talks about sort of maintaining your calm, right? It's the King of Cups energy, where it's like despite sort of the turbulent waters that may be around you, you're always sort of able to maintain your center and your calm through sort of the techniques that you've learned through like meditation, your spiritual practice, all of that. You have grounding exercises to sort of help you maintain that focus and that clarity. So that's the hunger pain energy, where it's like that's what you're moving out of, and you're moving into this ecstasy. Like if you look how similar these cards are, this one's heavier. You have this sort of like clouded light here, like the light is clouded, but here it's like clarity. All of this like clarity, ecstasy, joy, pleasure, love, all of this is sort of what you're stepping into, right? And it's like because both of those energies are coexisting within the same space, it can feel like perhaps overwhelm. I'm not so much getting that, but it just can be a lot is what that is feeling like. Okay, so here you have the nine of emotions, which talks about all of that sort of like the boat, right? Like the things that you do to sort of maintain your emotional integrity and stability despite any sort of conflicting energies that may be in your environment. And then you have here the High Priestess and the Temperance card, which is interesting because this Temperance card has been talking about almost like feeling overwhelmed at like a new task or a new ability or skill or whatever it is. Because I feel it's almost like you're moving from the High Priestess into the Temperance, which is interesting because I feel like you are keeping that aspect of like connected to your intuition and all that. But because of just like the difference in these two cards is being one having like being fully cloaked, right? Being fully cloaked with this boat energy of like having like, because the High Priestess comes out when there isn't a lot of light to see. You can't necessarily see what the next step is. So having to like rely on intuition, rely on other means to sort of get you through is kind of how this High Priestess is coming through. But then because this Temperance here, it's coming through with with the sun energy actually today, even though Temperance is sort of, the moon energy is there too. So it's kind of like moving from a period of darkness, interpret that how you will, whatever that means, even if it's not like heavy emotions, it could just be like a lack of clarity, like a not sure what the next step is, into sort of this sun energy where it is a lot of clarity. But I feel like with this Temperance card, especially because it's half and half, it's like you're halfway, you're in the middle of those 2 points where it's like there's still a lot of uncertainty, there's still a lot of sort of pain and hunger in your environment, but you're moving into the place of clarity, and it's like you're having to like go through this barrier or allow the energy to shift or move past you, even if you're maintaining your sort of integrity and stability. And then you have here the Queen of Voices and the Nine of Materials. Like these two cards came out together, which is both of those things, because it feels like all of this sort of like the Nine of Materials I interpret as being sort of like attracting the energies that you want to bring in, right? Like it's like that's what you're doing. You're sort of the center vortex of bringing in all of your manifestations. But with the Queen of Voices is interesting because it kind of comes through as being like a lot of energy being stirred up, right? It's like kind of like ruffling your feathers, and also it's like using the wing to like cover yourself up, because this one, like her shoulders are bare, right? So, and it kind of looks like, I don't know, the hair in the Queen of Voices always kind of like makes me uncomfortable for some reason, because it is similar to my hair, but it kind of looks like synthetic or like she's wearing a wig almost. So it's kind of like there's this energy of like, because you're moving into this new place, there could be an energy of like vulnerability, of like wanting to sort of cover up this aspect of yourself, perhaps, or whatever this new thing is, like wanting to cover that because it's new, because it's uncomfortable, because there's a bit of overwhelm or a sense of vulnerability perhaps in there as well. And then you have here the Four of Materials, because I feel like this is linked to the area of growth. Okay, moving into the last section of your reading of where's an area for growth, because it is linked to this Four of Materials, and I will come back to this card. But we are starting off here with the Ghost card, which came out first. And then you have Passion and Creativity, which is an interesting combination because I feel like this is after you sort of broken through to the other side, whatever that means for you. It's like once you sort of left the coexisting place into sort of like the new circle, the new realm, the new whatever it is that you're stepping into, it's like this ghost energy is being left behind, right? So ghosts can be interpreted in many different ways. I feel like for this, it's like leaving behind sort of the pain and hunger energy and moving into sort of passion and creativity, which is a beautiful combination for you, because both of these things are they're both sacral chakra themes, I want to say, right? Passion and creativity. Interesting here that they're represented sort of differently as being like root chakra related and third eye. Those are all involved as well, but I see this being as more of like a sacral chakra kind of energy. But anyway, what you're moving into, the area of growth that you can focus on is your passion and creativity. And what's interesting here is that you have the resolution card, because this is that ghost energy, right? It's like perhaps there's an element of yourself that you're having to leave behind. There could be like some shadow work involved, perhaps. I'm not so much getting that, but it could be relevant for maybe one of you, where there needs to be some sort of integration or resolution between you and perhaps like a shadow element, perhaps pertaining to like passion and creativity, right? Especially if it's something that perhaps you've been wanting to pursue and you haven't yet, that kind of thing. Or like there's fear perhaps around pursuing something like a creative goal or passion, something that's very passionate to you, something that perhaps makes you feel vulnerable as well. Because I see this resolution as like shielding your heart, right? Like shielding your heart. There's a veil, there's a hat, it's all sort of like covered up. So there may be that kind of element of like exposing some element that you find difficult to expose. There's kind of like a vulnerability here, right? And it could have to do with of like your passion, what it is that you're passionate about. But then you have here, there's resistance card. So I'm seeing these cards as being related, right? As well as with the boat, because of the hands, right? This like there may be some, because the hands are like in a similar position. You may be experiencing resistance. Part of what this ghost energy might be is that having to protect yourself, because there's this card came out next after the resistance, where this energy of protection, right? It's like if you are because this figure is hunched up. First of all, they're hunched up, and the circle is not in alignment with it's like their halo, if you want to call it that. If you see this, it's like an angel is kind of knocked off balance, right? There's this element of like being in an energy of self-protection, perhaps, can be misaligned in that way. If that makes sense. It can cause resistance, because if you're protecting yourself against something, that implies that there's a threat that you need to protect yourself from. But I feel like that's not true, right? Like that's the element that is wanting to grow, is to shift perhaps your mindset about what it is that you're trying to protect, and how you can make that part of yourself feel more secure as well, especially because of the root chakra. There could be this element of like feeling insecure about something that you're passionate about, because for whatever reason, that ghost energy, that kind of needs to be resolved, is kind of how this is feeling. And then you have the involution card, which came out in the Virgo reading as well, as being having to control the monkey mind aspects, or your natural sort of inclination or instinct to flee or run or fight or freeze in response to something that's scary, right? So there may be some sort of fear trigger that's coming up for you. That could be what the ghost energy is, that is needing to be shifted or reframed in some way, because this protection energy of like needing to protect yourself or protect somebody else perhaps from something dangerous, I'm putting that in quotations, is misaligned in some way, because it causes sort of like a hunching over, right? It's like a cloaking or masking or that kind of effect. That could be an effect that happens from that. And then you have here the Four of Voices, which just talks about like meditation, clearing your energy, becoming sort of, or like going, it's just clearing your energy, or doing like really grounding activities, especially because you started off with the weightlessness, because that could, that sort of weightlessness, the feeling ungrounded, can cause more anxiety, right? So I feel like this may be actually like trying to maintain that state of no resistance, but doing it in a way that puts you back into your body, perhaps, something like that. But because you are at a very, very significant point in your life with this Three of Cups, I always see this as being like the three fates appearing at a significant crossroads in your life. And it's sort of like they give you a lot of information that kind of feels like riddles or like hints or clues about what it is that you are stepping into, what it is that you will be encountering on this new journey, or this new path that you've turned into, or like that this new journey or phase that you've stepped into. And they only appear when you are at a significant crossroads of like having to choose, or like if you've already made the choice, having to actually go down that path now. And then you have here the Muse of Materials, which is so interesting. This came out in the Virgo reading. So if that reading was resonating with you, I feel like for you, you're the person who's going through the physical transformation or the physical challenge, or something very much in your material realm, whereas your counterpart may be going through the Muse of Inspiration, the fire challenge is what I'm calling it, where they may be going through some sort of challenge in terms of their motivation or their willpower or their energy of like having to take action or having to do that kind of thing. For you, it feels very much like in terms of your material realm of like what it is that you're creating, something that you're passionate about, with this Nine of Materials as well. Like calling in abundance, that kind of thing could be something like that as well. But then the last couple of cards are just so beautiful. Is you have the Fool, first of all, which is stepping into a new adventure. Absolutely. It's like this is the last couple of steps in this environment or in this energy of like that pain and hunger, which is not desirable, into something that is much more desirable. What it is that you're going into is the Four of Inspiration, which of course is the twin flame card, the Four of Wands. It's not always depicted, it's not depicted like that in this deck that I'm using, but it is still coming through with that energy. But I feel like it's also like talking about much more than just the twin flame connection. Like I know that that's always sort of like the main focus or the priority, but I feel like it's talking about much more, like a much bigger community that has that sort of energy associated with it in some way. And then you also have the Ten of Cups, right? So these two cards together especially is I feel like you are stepping into a new phase or a new cycle, a new start of some sort with your twin flame connection in some way. Whatever, it'll be different for all of you. Every step forward is a step forward. And then you have here the Awakening card, which I love so much because it's some sort of illumination or clarity that's coming in for you. So DF, I'm going to end it with the Moonology cards for you. So we have the first one. That's not the first one. It's time to take action, the new moon in Aries. So that came out in the Virgo reading as well. Believe in the impossible, Blue Moon. Hold your vision, the Fixed Moon. And look at the bigger picture, the Full Moon in Sagittarius. It's interesting that this card is coming out because we're currently in the new moon in Sagittarius. So in 6 months' time, perhaps, this may be something that unfolds over 6 months, I want to say. And perhaps in 6 months, the full picture of what it is that you're starting right now will come into fruition of some sort. There will be like perhaps a peak moment in 6 months' time. We'll see. Time will tell. So I'm going to leave it there for you. I do have other videos if you're interested in checking those out. Thanks so much for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.